What D&D adventures or campaigns would make great movies or TV? That's what I want to talk about today on Greyhawk Grognard. So, just as a reminder, this is a collaboration video between myself, Eric Tenkar, and Joe the Lawyer. They're going to cover the same topic from their perspectives. And if you're watching my video on one of their channels, I would ask you to please like and subscribe to mine. And if you're going to watch their videos on my channel, I urge you to do the same. That said, here we go. So when we came up with the idea that we should do a video about which D&D things would make great movies or television, we did set ourselves one caveat, right? We couldn't choose Dragonlance because that would be the obvious one. And there actually was already a Dragonlance movie. It was an animated film with a lot of great voice acting. I really enjoyed it myself. I know a lot of people don't like it, and the animation can get a little wonky. It's like really early CGI animation, so some of it doesn't really work. But I really enjoyed that movie, and I urge you to seek it out. Now that said, what am I going to think would make for great TV or movies? Now, obviously, I'm going to talk about Greyhawk because look who's talking to you. But the question is, what do I think would work as TV or movies? And I have a couple of answers to this. The first would be a movie, and I think one movie I would like to see is Tomb of Horrors. And the reason I choose this is this wouldn't just be a fantasy movie. This would fall into the realm of horror because you would think of it like a Saw movie or one of those where the adventurers go in, they're all cocky, they think they're going to loot a tomb, and then all of a sudden they're trapped in it and they're just desperately trying to get out. And there's traps everywhere, and it becomes a psychological horror, very claustrophobic, very paranoid as they go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So you could really play this up with the right director as being a outright horror movie that just happens to take place with spells and swords and stuff. I think that could really, really work well. You could almost be like Alien or Aliens, where there's like just makes it feel really claustrophobic and dark and dank and everything, and then things spring out at you and try to kill you. So I think that would really work. Tomb of Horrors as a horror movie. Hi, everybody. Please help me keep Greyhawk alive by liking this video and subscribing. It really does help. You can also become a member of the channel or support me on Patreon and get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free or at-cost copies of my Greyheim Adventures modules, and more. Thanks, and now back to the show. Now, the next one might even be too much for a single movie. It might need to be a pair of movies or something. But I'm going to go with the Slave Lords. And I think the Slave Lords would work really, really well as a movie or a mini series, maybe, for a couple of reasons. First, it has a very well defined story, it has a very well defined set of villains. And I really think that helps when you have, there's the bad guy. We're going to fight the bad guy. I really think that works really well. And I think this is one of those adventures, especially among early Greyhawk stuff, that really leans heavily into that, right? You know who the bad guy is. It is the Slave Lords. Why are they bad? Because they're Slave Lords. And another thing is, I think that a TV show or a movie would fix one of the biggest problems with these modules, and that is A4, because the whole thing is predicated on you get knocked out and captured at the end of this one. And while that can feel very forced and railroady in a D&D adventure, in a movie or a miniseries, that could actually work in its favor, right? Because plot happens all in a movie. Plot happens in a miniseries. So it won't feel so contrived. It won't feel so forced when it happens at them. It'll just feel like a big setback because, when you're structuring a story for TV or a movie, you always have to have that big setback right near the end. And then you go on to the heroes being triumphant. So I think that could really, really work. Um, where where you have that setback, they're captured, they're naked in the in the dungeons, and they have to get they have to get themselves out of that. I think that could really work in the context of a TV show or a movie. So, and like I say, it's got very well defined set pieces. It's got a story that goes beat to beat to beat to beat, and I think that could really work in a way that it sometimes doesn't particularly work in a D&D campaign. And then finally, my TV show, right? This is my elevator pitch for a Game of Thrones type of show. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, Greyhawk, it's obviously going to be Greyhawk, but what Greyhawk specifically is it going to be? And I think if I wanted to do a Game of Thrones type show set in Greyhawk, it's got to be Greyhawk Wars. And think about it. You could have the multiple points of view in here. You could set up a series of heroes that could interact in various places. They're going from here to here and they meet up here. But you could also show those wonderful point of view scenes where you're watching the villains plan what's going on, right? So you've got Ayuz could be a major part of this show where you see him on his throne and he's plotting and he's planning and he's directing his armies and stuff. And the same thing for the Overking. You have the Overking in the East just going nuts because he's being invaded, and then he lashes out. And you could have all these things. You could have the destruction of Medigia. You could have Asen's raid. You could really build up these characters into great heroes for the show, and they might not even have anything to do with each other, except in 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 short bursts, right? So there wouldn't be any one group of heroes, right? It would be told from multiple points of view. That each of the characters has their own motivations and their own goals and everything, but they're all going on at the same time, so they all interact on the macro scale. I really think that could work really well, and you've got a number of well-defined villains and heroes that are already set up in the history of the wars. Obviously, you need to tweak it some because for TV, you're going to have to make some changes. But for example, I would really build up Asen for Asen's raid that happens later on in the wars. I build him up as a real big hero. Maybe identify some Furiondian hero types that are in a group, and then they kind of split up and then come back and so forth. So you could have these two things happening on different parts of the finesse. That's always been one of my big beefs with Greyhawk Wars, is that it's presented as if it's one big thing. It's really not. It's a number of smaller things. It's three major conflicts that happen to be going on at the same time, but they're relatively unrelated, unless you count the idea that the Scarlet Brotherhood is manipulating everything. But that's not really the case with Ayuz, and I don't think it's the case with the Great Kingdom either. So you have the Great Kingdom is off doing its thing with one war there. Then you've got the Scarlet Brotherhood taking over essentially the south, and then you've got Ayuz up there taking over the north. So I think you have these three things, and they're going to be maybe there would be fighting between the Scarlet Brotherhood and the Great Kingdom, and then you could tweak things so to kind of make things a little more connected than they are in the actual Greyhawk Wars in the box. So, but anyway, that's my three. I would love to hear your nominees for a TV show or a miniseries or a movie or whatever, and let me know what you think. Obviously, it doesn't have to be Greyhawk, but it can't be Dragonlance. That's the one thing. You could absolutely, Ravenloft is made for this. You could really do something amazing with Ravenloft. You've got the dark, tragic character of Strahd. There's just all kinds of cool stuff you could do with that. If you wanted to go really weird, Guardians of the Galaxy type stuff, you could do something with Spelljammer. Forgotten Realms. I loved the D&D movie, Honor Among Thieves, which was set in the Forgotten Realms. So I would love if they could make a whole series of those with those same characters. I would be happy as anything. But do tell me what you think in the comments. What are your nominees? What would you want to do? But again, no Dragonlance. So anyway, hope you're all doing well. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.